Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Room 1. My name is Cassandra Pinetto. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as one of the assistant directors of webinars for FuturePedsRes this year, and I will be your moderator for the evening. I would also like to introduce Sharmi Dolakia, a PGY1 at University of Toledo, Ohio, who is part of the resident liaison of FuturePedsRes this year and is working hard behind the scenes tonight. I would like to invite our program representatives to give a short presentation of their programs for 5 minutes for the first part of the evening. And then we will take questions after all the presentations. Attendees, you can, however, leave your questions in the chat as we go. We also encourage programs to make use of the chat to answer any questions they can in case we run out of time. To ensure that all programs are adequately represented, each presentation is limited to 5 minutes. You will hear a timer go off, something similar to the sound. Please begin to wrap up your thoughts, as that will signify that you have 30 seconds remaining. Okay. Our first program of the evening today is Kaiser Permanente, Northern California. I would like to invite your representative to unmute and tell us about your program.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I am Nami Javeri. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a neonatologist and program director at Kaiser Northern California. So glad to have all of you with us. And so I'm going to start out, start out backwards, right side of this slide, and talk a little bit about our program. So first off, we are a smaller program. We are 10 residents per class here. And what I really love about that is it really creates a very intimate environment. People really get to know each other, very supportive community, and really supports an individualized curriculum for each of our residents. We are a community-based, university-affiliated program, part of Kaiser, which is a really, I think, exemplary healthcare system that a lot of other healthcare systems look to. And really, we have the resources of academic medical centers with research and really a full breadth of pediatric subspecialists. We're a children's hospital within a larger hospital. But at the same time, we maintain that sense of real community connection, which we really like. I think Kaiser helps serve in our area almost half of the patient population, for example, in Oakland and in some of the nearby communities. I'm talking a little bit about our curriculum. One of the innovations that we have in our curriculum is we are a 3+1 curriculum. And what that means is it's a schedule where, for example, you'll do 3 weeks of a rotation, say the inpatient wards, followed by 1 protected week of outpatient clinic time. And that's instead of doing a 4-week block with half-day continuity clinics. And what we've loved about this is it really creates a really nice cadence in the schedule. It's really great for wellness. And also just really great for continuity. And a lot of programs are adopting this. We were one of the first programs in the country to adopt this. In terms of our tracks, we have a categorical regular pediatric track, and we also have a public health track. Each year we accept 2 residents into the public health track where they do 3 years of categorical pediatric residency with us. And in their 4th year, they do their master's in public health at UC Berkeley. It's a fully funded MPH. The residents are paid while they're doing their MPH, and it's a really dynamic experience. So if you're considering an MPH around your pediatric residency, this is something to definitely consider. We also are really proud of our weekly academic half day, which is protected time on Thursday afternoons from 12:30 to 4:30, where all of our residents on daytime rotations get to engage in person in group didactics, ranging from lectures to mock codes, procedural workshops. There's also wellness activities. And our residents have really loved this. They've really helped craft this academic half day, and it's been a huge success. And then finally, one of our other innovations is our REACH curriculum. It's a longitudinal community advocacy rotation, which means that residents participate in community and advocacy time throughout their 3 years in residency. They partner with local community members or community organizations or schools to promote the health and well-being of children in our community. In terms of diversity initiatives, there's many things. I'm just going to focus on a couple of things, but all of our residents receive 8 hours of protected time for equity, inclusion, and diversity training, really to support a more collaborative and inclusive environment. And this takes place during our academic half day. I mentioned the REACH program, so really that connection with our very diverse community here in Oakland, which has been a really positive experience. We have an EID committee, and then we also have opportunities in global and community health rotations. And this year it was just announced that our GMU will help fund some of those rotations, providing $1,500 for each resident to do away rotations in global or community health. As I mentioned, Oakland is one of the most diverse cities in the US, and it also has an amazing food, arts, and outdoor scene. And so it's a really amazing place to live and work. I think I'm coming down to the last minute or so. So I just want to mention we have really outstanding benefits at Kaiser Oakland, Northern California. Our fellowship match rate is outstanding. Our residents get a lot of attention and a lot of support in matching great programs, including recently Columbia, Stanford, UCLA, OHSU, and fields like neonatology, emergency medicine, cardiology, adolescent medicine. We have a dedicated resident research coordinator, and our residents have a really high level of research productivity using the Kaiser database, which is just a really rich resource of information. And so all of our residents do QI work, and many of our residents are involved in research, and they've had publications, and many are presenting at national conferences. All of our residents have a dedicated mentor, and in addition, they have a dedicated advisor to help them reach their professional goals and personal goals. And if I were to describe our program in 3 words, I'd say we are collaborative. I think the size and the culture of our program really promotes that. I think we are very supportive, really trying to help all of our learners really reach, as I mentioned, their professional and personal goals in medicine. And I think we really embrace innovation at Kaiser, very open to change and really exploring dynamic ways to educate our trainees. So thank you for listening. Feel free to reach out to me directly, or please talk with Jamise and Kelly, who will be in our happy hour session later today.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We're going to wait a couple of seconds just to give time for those that are trickling in from other breakout rooms, and we'll move on to our next program. Alrighty, our next program of the night is Children's Hospital of Oakland. The floor is yours.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Celeste Allen, the program director here, pronouns she, her. Also, Waleed Sharif, one of our chief residents, is here with us too, and he can answer questions in the chat if they come up as well. So a little bit about our hospital. We are very close to Kaiser Oakland and work collaboratively with our partners there. Residents rotate from there and from here, so you'll see some of that in the different programs in the area. Our hospital is a unique combination of being a safety net hospital, a freestanding children's hospital with an affiliation with UCSF, as well as a major referral center and a level 1 trauma center. The unique combination of that really allows us to be a great training ground for residents to see a really wide variety of cases and different situations with our patients. Our mission is very clear here. We are very committed to serving all patients. Our hospital has a tradition of never turning a patient away. And 70% of our admissions come through our emergency department. So residents really get to see the story from the beginning and seeing them progress through the hospital to places like the PICU or the rehab unit. Oakland, as Dr. Javeri said, is a very diverse city. It's California's most diverse city. And we really see that diversity in our hospital among the patients, the families, our staff, and it's very much prioritized in thinking about training physicians who are underrepresented and who reflect the backgrounds of our patients. We have a longstanding cultural humility curriculum that's woven throughout our training in didactics, conferences. It's a concept that was developed here in our hospital, and so it's really much very ingrained in what we do and how we teach. Highlights in terms of our curriculum, we have early exposure to critical care, NICU and PICU in the first year. We have a hybrid system of call and night shifts, and that's actually something preferred by our residents. We ask in terms of how they feel about whether they want to go to just only days and nights, or do they want to have some shifts, and our residents tend to prefer having a combination depending on different areas in which they're working. Our hospital is the training site for almost all of their rotations, so that allows us to know our residents really well and to allow progressive clinical autonomy, and allow really residents to push themselves outside of their comfort zone, and in a way that's very supported. Our residents have all of their continuity clinic in our FQHC, which is a few blocks from the hospital. It's one of the only pediatric FQHCs in the country. And so really a great place to be because we're all there together. We do not have an X+Y schedule. We have a schedule where residents have clinic weekly, although on certain rotations that are more heavily inpatient, they'll have fewer clinics, and on certain rotations, they'll have more. So it's a nice combination of being able to see your patients regularly throughout your training. We don't have a lot of fellows here, so our residents have a lot of exposure to procedures and work closely one-on-one with our subspecialists. So also allows them to get to know different subspecialties. It helps a lot when they're looking at their career. It helps with mentorship, research, and heading into fellowship. We have a huge alumni database and network, and we utilize that to mentor our residents and help them figure out what kind of a pediatrician they want to be and what they want to end up doing. We have a lot of diversity initiatives here. Really, it's been a focus in our hospital since the beginning and for many, many years, with a commitment to recruitment, to, as I mentioned, training people who reflect the community that we serve, and pipeline work, and a lot of mentorship options, both to be a mentee and to be a mentor. We have mentor families, so you're divided. The program you're in a bigger family, you also have kind of a sibling system, and then also a lot of faculty mentors that are available to you. And I think that kind of goes along with training here together in one place. People will describe us as a very family feel, very supportive place to train, and definitely having a feeling like you know everybody quite well, even though we're a larger program. Let's see. Advocacy and community involvement is a huge piece of our program. Residents do a lot in the community as part of their community advocacy and primary care rotations, doing a lot of work with different partners in the community, shadowing in different practices. We have 2 school-based health centers residents rotate through, our juvenile justice center, immigrant health and asylum clinic as well. So a lot of opportunities to be involved in the community. And I don't know how our residents do it all, but they're a very active group of very innovative people who are excited about being involved. And I would say our faculty are really excited to work with residents on different projects that interest them. None of those are required, so they're really optional, and there's a lot of different tracks and pathways people can take as well. We do have benefits comparable to others in the area. We have free parking, we have food stipends. Our residents have a union, so they've advocated pretty strongly for their benefits over the years. And just to highlight again, Oakland as a very diverse, dynamic place to live in the Bay Area with access to lots to do. We have the Golden Weekend system here, so our residents really value being able to get out and go have fun when they have time off. That's very important to them as well. So thank you, and happy to answer questions. I know that's a lot of information to tell you all in 5 minutes, but we're always happy to have you reach out to us. Our Instagram information is also at the bottom, and feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen, for such a wonderful and insightful presentation. Just as a little quick announcement that we will have around like 15 or 10 to 15 minutes at the end to answer questions. Okay, next up, we have Stanford University.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Lahi Yaman. I'm one of the associate program directors. I'm here representing for our program director, Carrie Rosbach. And I am originally from Texas, and I came to Stanford a long time ago for residency myself. So I know that wasn't shared, I think, a little bit in the intro, but there is a big misconception that West Coast programs only take people from the West Coast. And I think probably a lot of the programs here can speak to that, that's not true. So you are not at a disadvantage if you are not from the West Coast. So that's why I kind of start out always by telling people where I'm from, but you might not want to leave because it's a great place to live. So, just some broad highlights about our program and maybe highlighting things that are a little bit different. So we are a large program. We have over 110 residents, and that's because we also have quite a few different tracks. So we have our categorical track, which is our largest with about 25 residents. And then we have a physician scientist track. So those are for pediatricians that see themselves having a large research career as well. We have combined peds anesthesiology track, combined peds medical genetics. We have child neurology. And then new this year, we'll be recruiting for our first cohort for the triple board program. So if people are aware of that, that's to get triple certified pediatric psychiatry and child and adolescent psychiatry. And so, yes, we are a large program. We're a freestanding children's hospital, but we are attached to the Stanford Adult Hospital and then on the Stanford University campus. And so that's nice because we're a freestanding children's hospital that has all of the resources for that. We're a tertiary care center that you see any and all things, but we're also kind of the safety net hospital for our local community as well. So our patient mix is about 50% private insurance and about 50% Medicaid. And then it's great to be attached to the adult hospital because that means our peds residents and fellows are also part of a larger GME community of about 1,500 residents and fellows. And that's really nice when you think about different collaborations, or as I'll share with some of the diversity initiatives and things like that. And then being on a university campus also just gives you access to additional resources and also just like the fun of being on a campus if you like sports or going to concerts or many other things that have a college vibe to them. And so, as I mentioned a little bit about our kind of like main hospital being kind of a tertiary center and for our surrounding community. So you really do get a broad clinical training. So that's kind of our main site. And then we also, our second most common site is Santa Clara Valley Medical Center, which is the county hospital in San Jose. And then our second year residents spend a month at Valley Children's in the emergency room, which is in the Central Valley. And so we kind of pride ourselves in having a little bit of a variety in the clinical training, because I think it's also important to see different sites and figure out what kind of environment that you would want to work in your future practice. And then for our continuity clinic, about 50% of our residents are at Gardner Packard Clinic, which is where I work, which is a federally qualified health center, or at one of the Santa Clara Valley clinics. And then we also have a host of different private clinics in our surrounding area here as well. And I think some of the things that are unique about our program is one, I would say our advising structure. So as I said, I'm one of the associate program directors specifically for advising. So you have a advising associate program director that follows you for all 3+ years. So you build kind of a longitudinal relationship with them. We also have a coaching program, which is another longitudinal program where you're paired with the coach for all of your years to really work on formative skills during training, whether that's taking an HMP, doing sign-outs, leading a care conference. And so really focused on teaching you how to do some reflection and self-directed learning as well too. And then we also have scholarly concentration. So all of our residents participate in these, and it's an opportunity to have some time, resources, and mentorship in a particular area of interest. And we see scholarship as very broad. So here, it's not that everybody does one particular thing. We actually have 6 scholarly concentrations. So medical education, quality and process improvement, global health, basic and translational research, I'm bringing community engagement and advocacy, and I feel like I'm forgetting one, and a 6th one that I will remember as soon as I move on. And so that again is a great way. Some people pick a scholarly concentration in a skill that they already have and they want to continue to further develop it. Or sometimes people are like, I have no experience in X thing and I really want to see if I like this skill. And so it's been a really great opportunity for our residents to do really great scholarship and present and publish, and also gives them great experience to also utilize in their future careers, whether it's applying for fellowship as well as for jobs. And then some things about our curriculum. So we are X+Y, as you're hearing all these different formations. What that really means is on X rotations, which are sometimes the inpatient rotations, you don't go to continuity clinic. On Y rotations, which are more outpatient based, you go to clinic twice per week. And we made that shift about 2 years ago. And for the same reasons others were talking about, it tends to help residents for like cognitive load of being able to just focus when they're in the inpatient setting and then focus when they're in clinic. And so that has worked well. And then we have a couple of different kind of curriculum threads, both for mental health. We also have on anti-racism. and advocacy. We also have some wellness curriculum integrated. We have monthly fireside chats. We have Schwartz rounds, if folks are familiar, which are like multidisciplinary rounds. We have class check-ins and town halls. And then for our diversity initiatives, I think as others were sharing here, I think sometimes people, if you're not familiar with the Bay Area, it's actually really diverse. And as we shared in many places, I think people think Stanford is only taking care of rich tech families, which is what I thought. And as a common misconception, as I said, that's why I tell people also I work at FQHC. So we actually have a really diverse patient population, not just race, ethnicity, but socioeconomic statuses. And as I shared in being able to go to some of those different clinical sites, that you also see some different patient populations as well. We have a LEAD program, which stands for Leadership, Education, and Advancing Diversity, that we created in our department back in 2017 and has been really amazing and expanded to all of GME 3 years ago, and is basically a 10-month longitudinal leadership program for residents and fellows to build really knowledge and scholarship skills around DEI. And we've also had folks go on to publish and do really great things through that program as well. We also have some department-wide anti-racism training, not just for our residents and fellows, but also for our faculty and staff. We have a funded clerkship opportunity, which is a dinner I'm going to go to after this. We have a residency council for our whole residency program, since we're quite large, that has class reps. We have reps for the different tracks that we have, wellness reps, as well as DEI reps to help us make sure that we have that lens when we're thinking about things. And then we also in our department have an Office of Child Health Equity. And then across GME, we have an Office of Diversity and Medical Education, which I'm also the Assistant Dean for Diversity for GME. So again, being able to leverage the broader GME community, we do a lot of programming around not just recruitment, because that's great, but that's not the final story, but really around inclusion and professional development. So I think that's a quick snapshot, and I'm happy to answer questions after.
Thank you, Dr. Yamani, for such a wonderful presentation. Now we'll wait a couple more seconds for people to trickle in, and we will move on with our next program. Next, we have University of California, San Francisco.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Fernandez. I'm one of the associate program directors and the director of intern recruitment. And so I am just so excited to meet you all. I'm trying to remember what it was like to be in your shoes and be thinking about programs and imagining finally getting to the place that I had wanted to be, which is to be a pediatrician. And so I'm just very excited for you all to be on the brink of a huge new change. And so I will tell you a little bit about me in a moment, but I also wanted to say that I'm very happy to be joined by two of our rising chiefs and our current residents. Ursula and Ryan, I think, are here. I can't see across where everybody is, but anyway, I'm pretty sure they're here, and they'll be able to hang out with you all during the resident only section, and you can feel free to ask them all the nitty gritty behind my back and tell them all of the gossip about the attending. No, just kidding. And so I thought I'd start with just telling you a little bit about myself. So I am actually a graduate of the UCSF Pediatrics Residency Program. I also was a chief here for the year after my residency, and I worked mostly at San Francisco General Hospital. And then I stayed on 8 hours after that year as faculty member, and I've been on faculty for almost 10 years. And I think what I like to tell people about UCSF is there is a reason why I've stayed for my entire training and career, is that I am very inspired by all the people that I meet, the trainees and the faculty members. And I think one of the things that makes UCSF so wonderful is that you can have any number of passions and find someone usually that speaks to your heart, and it has shared passions. And so if your thing is like, I want to study this gene in this Drosophila fly or whatever, then that's your jam, then you may find a kindred spirit. Or if you want to do community work and create really wonderful relationships with people who are doing interesting things in the community. You'll probably find kindred spirits there. I'm not going to go over the whole slide because there's so much that I could talk about, and you can probably tell that I'm quite chatty and get very excited. But I'll just say that there's a very nice group of pathways, tracks, and opportunities for people to pursue whatever passions they have. So if you're into global health or data informatics, or if you're into primary care like I was, you can enter the primary care track and delve in deep into those passions. I will say also, as far as just sort of broad strokes of our program, we're a medium sized, so about 86 residents total, 20 something per year. We use a block scheduling template, so 4 weeks per block, with continuity clinic 1/2 day a week. I also think one of the things that's wonderful about our program is that you get the opportunity to look at things from different angles. So what that means is throughout your 3 years, you'll be rotating in different hospitals in San Francisco and looking at patient care from slightly different angles. So our residents mostly spend their time at the Benioff Children's Hospital in San Francisco, which is in Mission Bay. It's about I think it was built in 2014 or something like that. So it's a fairly new hospital, really beautiful. And the other places where you'll spend your time is at Mount Zion, which is in the western addition of San Francisco, at San Francisco General Hospital, which is in the Mission District, and then at the Kaiser San Francisco, which is closer to Mount Zion. So you get to spend your time in different hospitals, seeing different systems. And I think that makes our graduating residents pretty agile in terms of what kind of setting that they want to go into. I'll just go over a few things with the seconds that I have left about a few things that I'm pretty proud of in this program. The first that I was going to mention is that I think we have a really wonderful, robust mentoring and advising program. We have an associate program director whose entire job is about resident mentoring and advising. And if you ask her about that, she will talk your ear off because that's her passion. And what's nice is she's redesigned things so that all residents get access to a mentor for their scholarly interests, for their research, for whatever projects they're interested in, but also an advisor that can help them get to from A to B in residency, make sure that they're prepared for passing their boards, make sure that they're finishing and completing their learning goals, and on track to achieve their career goals. The other thing that I'm really proud of that you can ask some of our residents about if you wish is the RISE Coalition, which was formerly known as the Diversity Committee, but it's the Residents for Inclusion and Social Justice and Equity Committee. And it's really a resident-led group. So our residents have been really instrumental in pushing all kinds of really important changes when it comes to the umbrella of DEI. So from helping with curriculum design, taking a look at recruitment and selection, looking at inclusion programming. And so I think that the RISE Coalition is something that's really wonderful because it's really resident focused, and the faculty are there to do a lot of support, but the residents are really the ones that take the lead. I guess I'll just finish by saying that we also have a lot of more information on our website, and we have an Instagram account too that is very well functioning by some of the residents who help us out with that. And so feel free to check that out. I'll be available during the Q&A, and I'm so excited to see you all. So I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fernandez. That was such a great presentation. Lastly, but not least, we have Oregon Health and Science University.
Hello, everyone. It is lovely to see all of these wonderful future pediatricians in our midst. My name is Megan Ayler, and I am the residency program director at OHSU. So glad to see you all. I'm also president-elect for APPD, one of the partners for FuturePedsRes, and just want to thank the organizers for putting this on and thank all of you future pediatricians for being here. I am glad to be able to share some of the highlights of our program. And I think I'd like to kind of focus on the values that we really hold dear in our program. Many of them already stated by my dear friends and colleagues that have spoken already. The first is education in an environment that is diverse, inclusive, and safe. We have a number of initiatives that focus not only on pathways and growing the diversity of our program, but also creating that environment of inclusion and belonging for our trainees. Our resident diversity committee just had a lovely social gathering yesterday talking about wonderful new initiatives for the coming year. Next is a focus on leadership and graduated autonomy. We are a medium-sized program with 18 categorical pediatric residents in each class, and then 1 child neuro or neurodevelopmental disabilities resident in each incoming class. And this size allows for a lot of different things with community building, but because of that, we get to know our residents really well as a faculty. We get to work with them over time, and we want for our trainees on day 1 of training to really put their themselves out there to say, this is what I think is going on with my patient. This is what I want to do about it. And for that to grow with complexity, acuity, and volume over time. And a lot of that graduated autonomy is augmented by the fact that we have these close faculty and resident relationships. We value resident community and wellness. We have a ton of work that we put into creating a rich sense of community in our program. One of my favorite community building activities is our resident retreat each year. We're able to take the entire residency program, all 3 classes, as well as the residency leadership team to the Oregon coast in September. It's a beautiful time to be there, and we engage in personal, professional development, program improvement, and just having a lot of fun every year. We always have a costume lip sync dance off, and this year's theme is Barbie, so I'm pretty excited. We have a robust resident faculty wellness program as well, which is a great resource to support our trainees. We really value collegiality and approachability, and like I said, that medium-sized nature of our program very much lends itself to those relationships. We place a lot of value on advocacy. We want for our residents to learn how to be a voice for children. We have longitudinal development through our noon conference series, and then we also have a dedicated rotation in community health, as well as a project-based rotation in the second year that our trainees can participate in. Our curriculum has for years been run by Dr. Ben Hoffman, a former residency program director and current AAP president-elect. So he's going to be taking a step back in the next year to focus on his national role, but is so committed to engaging residents in all of the work that he does. So it's a great resource for us to have at our institution. And then lastly, lifelong learning and discovery. Our residents all engage in a scholarly project, and similar to many of the others who have spoken, we like to have a broad view of what that looks like. Some will do more traditional research, others engage in quality improvement, projects around health equity, advocacy, education scholarship. We love for residents to find a passion for themselves and to really follow that. I could go on and on. I think I heard the ding, the musical ding. So I will cut it off there, but delighted to take any questions. And then also I'll have my colleague Jody is here with me. We'll put in the chat if anyone is interested in learning more about our program before application season. We will have an residency program specific webinar that we hold later on in August that we invite folks to. Thanks so much for the time, and thanks to the FuturePedsRes organizers for having us.
Thank you so much for that lovely presentation. And as a side note, I would like to let all the program directors know that if you would like for FuturePedsRes to give some advertisement on any open houses that you might be hosting in the future, please let us know and we'll be happy to post that on our social media. Alrighty, so that concludes our program overview of the portion of the evening. Now we will open up the floor for a live Q&A. If anyone prefers to remain anonymous, please feel free to send me a personal message and I will address your question to the program representatives. Okie doke, we have Rowan. Sorry, please correct me if I said your name wrong.
You said it great. Thank you all so much for coming tonight and for sharing about your programs. My question is a little bit general and also a little bit specific. So for programs that have tracks within residencies, could you explain how that application process goes? And for the programs that have separate residency programs, so tracks that have become baby programs, can you also explain how that application process goes?
I'm happy to start if it's helpful. So I guess I can speak to mine, and then there's going to be things that match. But for particular things like child neurology, the combined peds, anesthesia, genetics, all of those are separate things that you match into. So there's kind of categorical, and then there's like the other things. And so, and you could apply to multiple, right? But when you're actually like making your match list and things, they're separate. They're considered separate. And then there's different things where you maybe match into a categorical program. And then, for example, with us, you have scholarly concentration. That's something that gets sorted out later. Does that help answer?
I'll answer for UCSF. So mine is very similar. So it sort of depends on exactly which track or program you're interested in. So we have separate matches for molecular medicine. So folks that really want to be bench scientists as well as clinicians, that is a separate track that we match in. There's also a group called PLUS, which is used to be standing for Pediatric Leadership for the Underserved, but it's a health equity and leadership track. That actually you can hear more about that from our residents if you want to, because they're in that as well. So there's that program. There's also a child neurology and a new medical genetics and genomics program as well. So those are all separate matches with separate NRMPs. Within the residency itself, there is also a primary care track that usually people express interest in before they match, or excuse me, before they start, but after they match, where you're pretty much in it from the day you arrive if you're really interested in primary care. And then there are separate pathways for data informatics, global health, Here Justice, which is a health equity and anti-racism track, and a few others, a medical education track and a few others that are actually really wonderful and are GME wide, which means you collaborate with people in other residency programs and you enter into those tracks usually by your second year. So it all depends a little bit on which track you're exactly into. I would check out our website because it has a very fancy algorithm to show you. A bit complicated, but it's nice to have different opportunities depending on what floats your boat.
At Kaiser, we really just have one extra track that you match into, which is the MPH track. And so we have a categorical ERAS number and then a MPH joint program ERAS number. So we take 2 residents into that program every year. And then we don't have formal tracks once you're within residency in terms of primary care or critical care, things like that. But we do help our residents to customize their interests. And so that's kind of how we approach that.
All righty. Anyone else that would like to take the stand for more questions? If not, I'm happy to break the ice to motivate more attendings to ask their questions. I will pull
I have
some
a
up.
question.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, of course. Isam,
Yeah.
go ahead.
yeah. My name is Isam Benawi. I am a visiting instructor working at Stanford University right now. I just want to explore what are the chances for international medical graduates at matching at the Pacific West Coast. Yeah.
I can answer that a little bit. Thank you for your question, Assam. So for UCSF, at least every year we get applications from a lot of international medical graduates, and we're proud that we try our best to do a holistic review. So the couple of things that we look for, I'll echo a lot of what was said in the chat already, is experience in the US medical system. And so specifically clinical experience in the US medical system, but we definitely do every year get applications from international medical graduates and do consider them for interviews and ranking and match. And so I encourage you certainly to check out our website and write. And you can also utilize, if you would like, some of the signaling or geographic preferences that are in the supplemental application of ERAS to help programs know that you're really interested in them, or at least that you're interested in that geographic area.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Anyone else wants to take the stand? If not, I'll be happy to pull some of the questions that we received from attendings that registered for today. One of the most common was, what is the best way to gauge the culture of a program with Zoom interviews?
I'm happy to take that one. I had a resident or an applicant last season say, I have a really important question, and I just need to know how to have a gut feeling on Zoom. And I really recognize how challenging it must feel to get that gut feeling that people tell you to try to get. But I think just exploring, definitely spending time with the residents. Most applicants will tell us that it really helps to join one of the social events on Zoom and be able to ask your questions without, leadership of programs there, and just to really get a feel for the community of residents that you'd be working with. I think watching interactions between the faculty when they have, breakout rooms or when you're involved. And I think just really thinking about what's important to you and what you're looking for, and that can help you get that kind of gut feeling. I think also talking to people from your program who have interviewed in different places and who may be at the programs that you're checking out, because they're the people who may really understand, be able to speak the same language about where you're coming from and where you're going, and help be able to make some comparisons. And I found that really helpful when I was my own self looking at residency programs.
I echo what Dr. Allen is saying in terms of getting a feel. I know it can be a little bit during the interview day or half day, can be challenging to get a really full feel, but any of the activities, happy hours, meet and greets. If you can attend those, we know there's a lot that goes on while you're in the recruitment season, but if you can, we really encourage people to attend those. We also encourage folks to reach out one-on-one with our faculty or residents. And I think when we say that, it truly is sincere. And so we're excited when we have applicants who are think that they might find a great fit at Kaiser Oakland to reach out, to talk to us, outside of the formality of the interview day, because we really are excited to share more about our program. I think our oversight organization or overarching organization, the one Megan mentioned, APPD, the recommendations are not for in-person visits. And I think it's still fuzzy, but I think not for second visits necessarily in person. But for those who might be in the area, you can definitely reach out. We can recommend things in and around the hospital that you might want to check out to learn about the communities. I know it's challenging. Not everybody's going to be able to make it to the area for various reasons. So we're also understanding about that. But those are just some other ways you can get to know a little bit more about each of the programs that you're looking at.
Wonderful. Thank you to everyone for their amazing answers. I hope that whoever is here tonight listening, this information has been helpful for everyone. I'm sad to say that we are concluding our last couple of minutes of the night. So I think we might be able to answer one last question before we move on to our resident happy hour. If someone from the audience wants to take the stand for the last question, if not, I'm more than happy to pull out of one of our questions from the poll. The floor is yours, Rowan.
Sorry for asking my questions. So my question is about program signaling and geographic signaling. It's kind of been a toss-up at my institution as to the advice that has been given and how they're being used in the process. Could you guys share how you're using them at your institutions?
I can share my thoughts. I can only speak for UCSF, but I would say certainly like the whole supplemental applications and geographic signaling and the program signaling are new. And so I think you won't get a uniform answer from every program since we're all still trying to figure it out. I'll say from the standpoint of UCSF is that we do consider it, but it's not a make or break. And my advice to you as to take off my UCS hat and put on my as if I were the med student is just to be honest when you're filling it out. Like if there are 5 programs that you really want to go to, those are the 5 that you put. If there's a place in the country where you want to be because of family or friends or whatever, that's what you should put. So I wouldn't try to game the system in any way or whatever. Just be honest, and where you want to be is where you want to be, because I don't think for any of the programs that having it or not having it is a make or break you. And so if it can only help you for those programs that you really want to be at. So I'll leave it at that.
I think I would echo what Sabrina said. I think big picture, yeah, people are still trying to figure out what it means. And I think a lot of the national discussions center around the specialties that do it, that are hyper competitive. And it now has become this do I have to signal to even get an interview? And that's not where PEDS is. So one, to say that. And then the second is to remember the signaling, the intention with that is to help you get an interview. Signaling in no way impacts beyond that. It's just I'm signaling, I'm really interested. I want to shoot my shot to get an interview. But once you get an interview, after that, it's the signal doesn't exist.
I think the one thing that was really helpful in applications last year, and again, this whole process was new, is if you can explain, whether, I know one of the questions was if you don't have affiliations with California but are really interested, just sharing that in the comment boxes, just saying, that I really want to try a new place. I really have heard about these great things about this area or this program, and that's why I'm applying there. Or similarly, I think that does get people's notice in terms of geographic preference. And Megan can speak to this a little bit. I feel like I was on a committee and they did share, and this was very confusing for a lot of people last year, where if you put no preference for geographic, did that harm or hurt you or help you? It was a little fuzzy, but I think if you put no preference, just share why you're putting no preference. Like, I'm looking for programs with these aspects, and so that's why I'm not tied to a geographic area. And so I think those, explanations can be really helpful in getting your notice. And I think, as was said before, really trying to find those programs that you're really excited about and showing sincerely, and not trying to necessarily game the system, but just the places that you'd be most happy to be at based on the information you have.
Just seconding, if you're in the stressful situation of couples matching or other factors that you need to cast a really wide net, I think just explaining that, and people absolutely understand, and in no way does say no preference in our perspective, impact that. So we really still try to perform holistic review both in the screening process and afterwards. So I agree with what everybody's saying. Is just really just think about yourself and where are you and what are your goals, and so that you land in the right place.
I agree with what everybody said. The one thing that I would add is, if you don't have a preference for any one of the reasons that have been stated, do indicate the no preference, because if you just don't indicate anything, the program will see it as blank, and then it looks the exact same as if I'm a West Coast program and you have signaled the Midwest, the East Coast, and the Southeast. It looks the same to us. So it looks like you do have a preference, but your preference wasn't the West. So if you have no preference, totally fine to indicate that. And it's nice if you can provide some rationale. But I would recommend that you select something from one of those categories.
Thank you, everyone, for your answers. Sorry, Kirby, that was our last question of the night. We're gonna move on to our
Welcome everyone to room 2. My name is Divya Keval Ramani and my pronouns are she and her. I recently graduated medical school and I'm currently a research fellow at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. I'd also like to introduce you to Alex.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Aguirre. I graduated last year from Universidad San Francisco de Quito in Ecuador, and I'm the Assistant Director of Research.
I would like to invite our program representatives to give a short presentation of their program for 5 minutes for the first part of the evening, and then we'll take questions after the presentations. Attendees, you can, however, leave your questions in the chat as we go. We also encourage programs to make use of the chat to answer any questions they can in case we run out of time. To ensure that all programs are adequately represented, each presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. When you hear my timer go off, like that, please begin to wrap up your thoughts, as that will signify that you have 30 seconds remaining. Our first program for the evening is University of California, Davis. I would like to invite your representative to please unmute and tell us about your program.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for inviting us today. So I'm Richard Tannison. I'm one of the Associate Program Directors at UC Davis. First, I'd like to introduce kind of like our leadership team, and our Program Director is Dr. Su-Ting Lee. She's fantastic. And our Program Coordinator is Laurel Sorensen. We have 4 Associate Program Directors. One of them is Dr. Lisa Rasmussen. Another is Dr. Kelly Haas. Another is Dr. Laura Kester-Prakash, who you met earlier. And then I am one of the other Associate Program Directors. And one of my focus as an APD is on well-being. And a lot of our Program Directors have focus areas. For instance, Dr. Kester-Prakash also has a focus area on diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as developmental behavior and mental health. And so just going over some program highlights. And so UC Davis, we're in Sacramento, the capital. We're a major tertiary referral center. And so we get a lot of outside referrals from all the neighboring areas. So a lot of Northern California, a lot of Western Nevada, as well as Southern Oregon. One of our things that we love about is our scholarly project opportunities. So each resident is expected to complete a scholarly project and focusing on one of these 4 areas, so whether or not that's community health and advocacy, research, quality improvement, or medical education. And it's a longitudinal experience where you get mentors and kind of help with getting advice on how to complete your scholarly project. You also get protected time throughout your residency to work on it as well. And then in terms of 3 words that describe our program, I'd say we all decided that close-knit, collaborative, and community are what we love about UC Davis. And for me, I'm probably going to add a 4th one that sums up all of those, and that's really family. So to me, I was a resident here about 10 years ago, and really every time I talk about it during the interview season, it's really the family feel that I fell in love with at UC Davis. And then in terms of things that our residents, unique things that they've been able to do. So we have a lot of people go on to do advocacy work. So one of our residents who's now a faculty member has a podcast called Kids Considered. A lot of people testify at the state capitol. They publish op-eds. They speak on the TV and radio and then local news. They serve as regional AEP reps, et cetera. And they also practice in federally qualified health centers. And then also our residents also complete a lot of scholarly work that ends up kind of getting able to go to national conferences like PAS, as well as publishing their research and doing a lot of other wonderful things. In terms of our curriculum, so we are X+Y. We transitioned last year, and so 3 weeks, usually you're on inpatient with a 1 week being outpatient. And that's kind of the standard throughout the year with some variation. But the residents have loved it so far from a well-being standpoint, and I've loved it so far as well, as one of my passions is, of course, wellness. And then also you do get 4 weeks as a intern to do some community advocacy rotation. And so you kind of get to learn what all is available in the community, as well as how to advocate best for your patients. And there's also other things incorporated, such as residence teacher, to help kind of residents learn how to become a better educator. And we also incorporate a lot of QI and patient safety stuff into our didactics, as well as our continuity clinics and throughout the whole program. Other details to know about is that if you end up doing signaling a geographic region, we are in the Pacific West, and then we have about 43 total residents, and then we are an academic and community affiliated hospital. And if you're an international student applying, then the thing to know is that we accept J1 visas only. And at this point, I'll try to pass it on to Dr. Kester Prakash to wrap it up.
Thank you so much. We also are grounded in a lot of our diversity initiatives. And so we do have a longitudinally integrated curriculum that is called the Change Lives curriculum, which stands for Child Health Advocacy, Anti-Racism, Neighborhood Partnership, Justice, and Equity. And these are incorporated not only in our didactic settings, but into a lot of our other experiences. Examples being things such as community health and advocacy, in which residents have a 4-week dedicated time period in their first year. We are located in the diverse capital of California, Sacramento. It is the farm to fork capital, and we have lots of outdoor activities that are very close and easily reachable, including not being very far from Lake Tahoe or Nevada. We also have a very strong and active legislative and social media advocacy program and opportunities for training. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. The next program for the evening is Valley's Children's. I would please like to invite their representative to unmute and share. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Kenya Tappan. I'm one of the Associate Program Directors for the Valley Children's Pediatric Residency Program. We're a medium-sized program with about 14 residents per class, located in Madera, California, which is just north of Fresno. We are a freestanding 330-bed children's hospital in the Central California area. We provide services to patients as far north as Sacramento and as far south as like Santa Maria and the Bakersfield area. We're the only healthcare network dedicated to caring exclusively for kids in the Central Valley. And annually, we serve about 1.3 million kids, and we have about 98,000 ED visits, which is a little bit decreased from pre-COVID era when it was about 120, but you'll see that across the board. We have a level 2 pediatric trauma center and a level 4 epilepsy center. And then one of the awesome things about learning or getting your education for residency here in the Central Valley is that our kids really present with a large breadth and depth of disease presentations and processes. And what that means ultimately for you is that you get comprehensive training as a pediatrician. So whether your future endeavors include doing a fellowship program or being a general pediatrician, you can develop all the skills that you need to care for the patients that are depending on you. Just to let you guys know, like all the residency programs are ACGME accredited, right? So you'll get the training that you need to be a great pediatrician or a specialist. You have to figure out like where is a place that you'll be happiest in your training. Some of the things that we do for resident wellness include a quarterly wellness half day, where if you need to take time for your doctor's appointments or any errands that you need to run, you have that opportunity to take it during your elective time. We also have an annual wellness stipend. As you know, like people's determination of what makes them well could be different. Some people use, and so Yosemite is pretty close by, they'll use that to do their national park pass for the year. Some people do it for guitar classes or belly dancing classes, whatever makes you well, you can use that money for those endeavors. We also have an on-site medical clinic for employees in case there's some same-day sick appointments that you need to take care of. We have a fully stocked GME resident lounge, cafeteria meal credits, on-site Starbucks that's open late, and then also designated physician parking that residents use, and it steps away from the hospital. Some of our diversity initiatives include the Valley Children's Residency Diversity Council, which is run exclusively by the residents. And there have been a couple cool initiatives that have come through. Early on in the COVID area, when the vaccine first came out, one of our residents was really interested in participating or getting vaccines, the COVID vaccines, to the rural communities that need it most. And he actually worked to create vaccine clinics. So that was one of the awesome things that we did. In terms of curriculum or your longitudinal practice, we have one-on-one coaching so they can help you kind of avoid mistakes early, be more intentional about your path in medicine. Also, you can run ideas by them and connect you to others who may be more experienced in the field that you want to go into. We also have program tracks, which focus on like medical education, research, versus being leaders in health equity, advocacy, and primary care. And then career development workshops, which we love. And then being in California, we're like less than 3 hours away from San Francisco, less than 3 hours away from LA. And then we also have an airport, so you can fly if you want to fly on your time that you have, and lots of beautiful national parks that you can visit too, and hiking trails and lakes, especially with the summer heat. One of the things that I really love, I was also a resident at this program, and now I'm an EPD, so I'm really excited about that. But one thing that we specialize in is GME, or graduate medical education, is very receptive to the residents and their needs and feedback, right? When I was an intern, we had 28-hour call shifts, which were terrible. Nobody liked it. Our whole class reported those concerns to GME. And by the next year, that was taken out and it never came back, right? So things like that, having that receptiveness is really important. The other thing is second year has a lot of inpatient electives. It's very intense, not inpatient electives, inpatient required rotations. And a lot of the residents were saying it's kind of too intense. We need to space out a little bit. There's not that much time for electives. So what we did is we moved our float rotation, which is your admits, to first year, one of them. And then we also added ED to late in first year. So that freed up a couple of spaces, thank you, for electives in your second year. Lastly, again, I just encourage you guys to all have fun with this whole process of interviewing and choosing programs. And again, remember, just as programs are choosing you, you're choosing programs. So think about where you can be happy, think about what's important to you and your future. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next program for the night is University of Washington. If your representative could please come off mute. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Troy Johnston. I'm the interim program director of the residency at the moment. I will highlight the fact that we end up doing most of our work at the Seattle Children's Hospital. It is the home for the Department of Pediatrics and the residency, but we also have rotations at Harborview Medical Center, which is the county hospital, where there's a burn trauma center, and we work in their PICU and inpatient pediatric floors. And then there are two large level 4 NICUs. One is at Seattle Children's, the other is at the University of Washington, where the delivery and newborn experience is. We do put emphasis on resident wellness. The University of Washington GME provides free and confidential counseling services for individuals and couples They provide access to a community psychiatrist and learning specialist too. So they actually have some nice resources that our residents definitely take advantage of. We currently have a relatively newer parental leave policy with 2 months of parental leave. And then we also offer a parenting elective that most of the residents that are parents take advantage of. We do have a fund that provides some access for childcare services. Transportation, you do get free parking at Children's Hospital, and you do get free public transportation through the King County using your University of Washington Husky card. We have a lot of traditions. At the beginning of the year, the interns always get to go on a local hike to Pinnacle Peak, which at that time of year is snow covered at the top. So they learn how to do a free arrest. We also offered maybe more exciting for people who like tide pooling adventure that's here just in the off the shore of Seattle in the Sound. The intern retreat is a dedicated 1 week in September, where all the interns are freed of all their clinical responsibilities for the week. And that is a really great experience for bonding, but also a lot of great learning activities are included in that. Talent show, our last MC is actually attending tonight, but one of our current resident executive leaders and one of the third years always leads the talent show. We have an end of year banquet and our residents are grouped in pods. So we have 5 pods, and of course, they're all based on different whales, and there are lots of activities, social activities associated with the pods. Curriculum, we are moving towards the X+Y transition. We've made some changes in our schedule over the last year, I think, that have been very helpful. We've cut down on the number of 24 shifts to really a bare minimum, and we've changed the way we do our PICU, removed all the 24-hour shifts from that, and made it night float, where you do 2 weeks at a time. So it becomes more of a spread out longitudinal. And that was really at the request of our residents. We do have a include curriculum, which is a curriculum that is built longitudinally throughout the year. Inclusion, cultural humility, diversity, and equity is the acronym. And then the other acronym, the RATTLE curriculum, is the residents as teachers and leaders. Again, those are built in to the learning curriculum throughout the year. Diversity is very important in the residency. The residents a couple years ago started a health equity rounds that's hospital-wide, and it's actually different presentations throughout the year that are led by not just the residents, but other members of the hospital staff. The Resident Diversity Committee is a very important part of our residency that is pretty well represented. It has lots of members. They just had their first meeting the other night of the year. We have the university has a network for underrepresented residents and fellows. That's acronym NERF. And the pediatric residents have been very involved in that over the years. The last year's leader was actually one of our former residents who's now a fellow. There's residency-wide race-based affinity groups and ally caucus. We have a resident learning climate reporting tool to make sure that the residency is well aware of any concerns about the learning environment. That includes anything in the learning environment, but definitely we do hear about any concerns about racism. We're a large program in the Pacific Northwest. It used to be the only program in Washington, but not anymore. Boy, am I slow. It was like giving a shout out to WSU there. Should I stop or?
No, you have 30 more seconds. Go ahead.
Oh, good. We have 45 interns in a class. Again, we have different tracks that you can apply to. Categorical is the majority of our residents, 31 there, but we also have Alaska track where you spend 1 year total over the 3 years in Alaska. Health equity track, research track, peds genetics, and peds neuro. We have other experiences that you do. The whammy one I'll talk about real briefly. You spend 2 months in a remote site from Seattle during your second year, doing general pediatrics throughout Washington and Montana and Idaho. There's 6 different sites that everyone spends time at. Again, one site for 2 months. And it's not raining now in Seattle. It hasn't rained for quite a while, actually. The rain does not come in the summer. It's an unbelievably beautiful place to be in the summer, and you get outside. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnston. Our next program for the evening is Washington State University. If your representative could please come off unmute.
Oh, that's me. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I am thrilled to be here. This has been a long time coming. So I moved to Spokane 18 years ago and was one of the people who started the pediatric emergency department here. And it was a big leap of faith coming here. There wasn't a PDR, but I absolutely love Spokane. It's been a wonderful place to build a family and to work. And as part of that, I've been involved with teaching a lot of residents. So as a new program, one of the fears is that we don't have residents or experience with teaching, but University of Washington medical students have been coming here for years. We now have a campus for the University of Washington, as well as Washington State University, and as well as Pacific Northwest University students come to Spokane as well. And we've been teaching family medicine, transitional internal medicine, psychiatry. There's now physiatry in it, if I didn't say transitional program. But so we've been teaching interns for years from other areas outside of pediatrics, and everybody is just thrilled because we are now getting a return on our investment. So we will teach pediatric interns who will become senior residents, who will then go on to help us teach. And it'll be nice just to sort of have conversations about more in-depth things as opposed to just the basics of pediatrics with the I guess they're not necessarily younger, but the less experienced learners that come through during internship and medical school. So we're really looking forward, the entire community is looking forward to this. We are really focusing, as a new program, you cannot actually get an X+Y program. You need to be an experienced program to get that until it's actually approved by ACGME for all programs. And so we've modified a program where we're going to do 4-week blocks and then alternate that with 2-week blocks. And during the 2-week blocks, we're going to have longitudinal rotations. There'll be increased continuity clinics. There'll be behavior development, psychiatry, adolescent medicine, community pediatrics. So it's not just if you have that 1 month and if you miss that experience or don't get to see what you need, you'll kind of be able to learn things, practice them in your continuity clinics, and then go back to those areas and continue to learn. So the 4-week blocks will be both inpatient and some of the selective rotations, but it also allows us during those inpatient blocks for residents to not have to go out to continuity clinic. I am a big believer in active learning, so we're planning on having our actual residents be teaching each other. So during the didactic sessions, we will have attendings from those specific areas to supervise, but the plan is to have the residents have time to actually prepare a fair amount of lecturing and to be able to educate their colleagues. We do not have a centralized clinic, so our residents, the plan is that the residents are going to be going out into the community. We have general pediatricians in the community who are going to accept residents to go out and work with them. So it'll be a real experience as a resident. You know, now I'm an emergency medicine physician, but one of the areas of residency I did some internal medicine and pediatrics was kind of not really knowing what the real world was like because of being in that university clinic where things were lots of residents and maybe a little inefficient, whereas the residents are going to go out and see what it really is to work in these practices and what their life will be like after graduation if they choose to go into general pediatrics. Our X+Y schedule will allow some dedicated time for independent study and for scholarly activities. This is a small program, so I've learned a lot about financing for residents, and to start a new program, one of the biggest hurdles has been financing. I heard about this residency program 18 years ago when I moved to Spokane and got involved with it. About 5 years ago, we started attending the APPD conferences in hopes that sponsorship would come through. And we have a great place, which is our primary location, is going to be the Children's Hospital. So it's Sacred Heart Medical Center and Children's Hospital. It is a children's hospital within a hospital, but the pediatric services are all centrally located. We have a 19-bed Peds ER, a 61-bed NICU, a 20-bed PICU, overall 160 beds dedicated to pediatrics, as well as an adolescent mental health unit. So we are a university affiliated. Washington State is the sponsor for this program, but I would consider it more of a community program than an academic program. We're in Spokane. Spokane, I always say that it has more of a big town feel than a small city, but I think you could label it as either one of those. But as a lot of the programs out west, it is real great access to the outdoors. So whether it be wintertime or summertime activities, within a very short drive of getting out of the city, you can be involved in all of those things, as well as a very affordable place to live. And we have an extremely convenient airport in terms of getting in and out of Spokane if you want to go visit other places. With a program as small as ours, we have a very large clinical entity at the Children's Hospital with 160 beds and a very active emergency department, a very active ped service. So six residents a year is very small. And so one of the things that we've been stressing over the last 5 years is basically education over service. So as residents are at the Children's Hospital and working, the emphasis is on the education of the resident. We all exist, and we've been doing this for years without residents, so we can continue to function without them. Our goal is to bring residents in to train them so that they want to stay in our area and continue to work and get a great experience, but be well prepared for whatever they want to do. Thanks for the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Our last program for the evening is Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital. If your representative could please unmute and share a little bit more about you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm Jeff Frazier. I'm the program director here at the Cottage Hospital Pediatric Residency. I just want to give a big shout out to Chris because he and I have been talking. We have similar size residency programs, and our program, like his, is fairly new. So congratulations, Chris. I was just so excited to see you presenting tonight, and I know all the hard work that's gone into that, and I think everybody can tell Chris is very thoughtful about his program. So so anyway, congrats. It's very exciting. Let me tell you a little bit about our program. So we are located in Santa Barbara, California. We're a very community-based PEDS residency program. And what I mean by that is that our hospital, Cottage Hospital, is a hospital that was formed out of a desire from the community. And it's really an interesting setup, unlike any other that I've ever been involved in. The way that it works here is that the hospital is not owned by the state or the city. It's not owned by a university. It's not owned by a private company. The hospital is actually owned by the people of Santa Barbara. And so when programs are initiated here, they're really initiated with the mindset of trying to do what's best for the people in our community. And so when we started up our residency program, the idea was very similar to what Chris just talked about, which was that we wanted to have well-trained, evidence-based pediatricians for the community and subspecialists that would be well-trained and be able to come back and work in this community, as well as along the central coast of California, sort of our region. And so the hospital wanted to do that. The community and the board of directors of the hospital, made up of people in the community, wanted to have a pediatric residency program. Very much like Chris's program, we actually don't need to have the residents here. And so the way that that impacts our training program is that we really are able to make our decisions based on what's best for the resident education, and trying to do things with that as our only consideration. Our program is largely based at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, which is a pediatric floor within an adult hospital. We have an ambulatory site that is another place where you will do a lot of your training. It's an FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center, where you will sort of live patient advocacy and live health equity on a day-to-day and minute-to-minute basis. Our program is 6 residents each year. So we are a very tight-knit program. We just welcomed our 2nd class. And I will tell you, like, it is very fun to have a small group of folks that you get to see every day, and you really get to develop relationships with your fellow residents, but also I think with your attendings. Because we're small, you will get to know your faculty and your attendings very well individually because there's not a lot of us. And so what that does is that creates this kind of close-knit and very community type feel to our program. I mentioned we have a really strong community involvement. I think that's probably one of the strengths of our program. Because Cottage sees itself as the provider for healthcare for the city and the region, they initiate programs and they create community opportunities to care for the people in the community. And that allows us to get involved in those programs as well as a pediatric residency. And so it's very easy for us to get involved in mental health provision. So last week we started working on developing our mental health rotation. And, I had 8 different people to call to talk to about like different experiences in our community that I know just because we're a small community. So I think the community feel not only is in the residency program, but I think also in Santa Barbara itself. We feel that advocacy is a really important part of your training. You need to be an advocate for your patients. You need to be an advocate for your community. So we've incorporated that into our community pediatrics rotation, as well as into our didactic structure. And then for our diversity initiatives, we have a DEI lecture series. We have residents who are serving in our hospital-wide DEI committee. We have a sponsored DEI lecture series that is happening. But I will say probably the most important thing is that you are going to be working in one of the poorest counties in California. People think of Santa Barbara and they think of Oprah and Meghan and Harry and everything, but we're actually the second poorest county in California. And so that allows for a lot of opportunities to kind of live health equity and live advocacy. Anyway, I'm so excited to get to meet some of you tonight, and thank you for coming to this and giving us the opportunity to present our program.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. That concludes the program overview portion of the evening. Now we will open up the floor to a live Q&A session. If anyone prefers to remain anonymous, please feel free to send me a personal message and I will address your question to the program representatives. The first question that we had was, what is the best way to gauge the culture of the program through Zoom interviews?
This is Kenya. I can start. I would really recommend attending the resident sessions. I think that's the biggest place where you're going to see how is it actually. So any of like happy hours or like the open houses that sometimes they'll have, I think that's kind of your best way to gauge and just look at the vibe that the residents have together and how they interact with others. And then location. Is it a place that you could be happy?
Yeah, I think for me, it's attending whatever social stuff is available. So like we have a social hour the night before at some point, and then we have like our lunch is usually also kind of a social time that faculty residents. So I think whatever social time there are, definitely go to there, as well as I think you can also see how the residents and faculty talk about each other. So whether or not that's your one-on-one interview, if the residents are talking about how much they love the faculty, as well as vice versa, I think that could be another glimpse too. And I think it's also, I would just encourage people to ask questions and just talk in whatever way you want to, because I think the problem with Zoom is a lot of people, I think, are just either too nervous, or too shy, or they want to be respectful of the Zoom etiquette and whatnot. But I think the best way to get to know programs is really just to be engaged and active and kind of ask questions, whatever you want. So.
Thank you. The next question that we have is, what are the top qualities of a strong pediatric residency application, and what can a candidate do beside their scores that can make them stand out?
I guess I might take a shot at that one. I think it's hard to answer that, to be honest, because I think most programs at this point have come a long ways, and I'll even speak to us at UC Davis. Like, I've been on the selection committee for a while, and I've seen the evolution of our approach, and it's really a holistic review of someone's application, because we all have different experiences, we all have different activities we're involved with, research, not research, advocacy. I think it's hard to answer that question, but I think in terms of maybe how to stand out, I think again it probably goes back to the same answer as the first question of during the interview season. I think that's kind of your opportunity to really talk about what you're proud of during your interviews, talk about who you are, kind of what you're passionate about, and really just being your genuine self. And I think that's really what's going to help you stand out the most.
I agree. I also think flexibility and enthusiasm for learning, right? It's a long journey, and trying to find your joys. Like, it's easier to teach a learner that's more optimistic, enthusiastic, and finding your passions. Everyone has different passions, and that's okay, right? You find places that have your vibe or things that can help you advance what you're passionate about. And when you're passionate about something and pursuing those things, you shine better, and then other people will notice it, like your programs will notice it. So I agree, like being yourself is really important, and kind of figuring out what you're passionate about and then showing that in your application and when you talk to your interviewers.
That makes sense. Thank you. The next question is, how often does geographic connection is considered when looking at an application?
I think for some reason it sort of depends on what the mission of your program is. So, for us, it's, we would love to develop well-rounded pediatricians that would want to be in the area. And so some connection to us is certainly going to be, more important. And without it being a knock, I went to the University of Utah, which I would consider a larger program compared to what I was doing. But I think they were, generally looking to to raise good pediatricians and potential fellowship candidates, and maybe that connection isn't there as much. So I think it depends on the program, the mission of the program. So it could, it certainly could mean more to some programs than others.
I agree, and we can only speak for our program at UW Seattle Children's. It's only been, this on your applications this year, they allow you to choose or mark a preference or a program if you want to. That never existed as a thing. And our program has over 50 medical schools represented, I think. And so some people don't know that they want to come to the West Coast at all. And so they come out here for an adventure, and some choose to go back and will serve in a community very much like Spokane, and some will come and fall in love with Spokane and stay, or the Pacific Northwest region. So you don't have to have a tie to the Pacific Northwest. And if you don't, I think that's okay. And be able to talk about why you might be willing to come out here. And if you're a local kid, you can talk about what you love about being a local kid and why you want to serve your community. So if you don't want to put program preference and you don't want to put regional preference, you don't need to put those things if you're willing to explore beyond that.
Thank you. With the limited number of experiences that the applicants are allowed to expand on this year, what are your thoughts on trying to include hobbies in the application?
So I think this goes back to something that was touched on before, which is, the purpose of your application is to tell your story. It's to tell who you are and what your purpose is and what your passions are. So, I mean, if those hobbies contribute to your story and who you are, and they connect and they're important, then you should include that. if they're completely unrelated and they may not be as beneficial, right? And so you really want to look for, we want to know who you are. We want to see your application. We want to know your story. We want to know who you are. And so I think keeping that in mind when you're trying to decide what to put and what not to put, how is that contributing to telling your holistic story of who you are and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, for me, I think I guess I would just say that I wouldn't overthink that part. If it's something that's important to you, and this is just general advice for your application, is, it is supposed to be who you are. So whatever you put on there, as long as you feel confident and able to talk about it, as opposed to if someone asks you and you scramble and you can't really explain like why it's on there, I guess that's what I would say is probably don't put it on there. But I mean, I think, yeah, it's really just trying to tell the story, like Dr. Kester Prakash was saying. So I think as long as it's genuine and it's yourself, then put it on there. But I don't think it's going to make or break you in terms of if you don't have any hobbies you don't want to talk about. If it's not there, then we're not going to judge it or overthink it. So I think that's the hard thing about the application process is, I mean, obviously we were all medical students applying to residency at some point. So a lot of the stuff on your application is you're trying to figure out, is this going to make or break my application? Which honestly, most of the time it's not, as long as you approach it with being genuine in your true self.
That makes sense. Thank you. Any recommendations for couples matching or reapplicants?
I would say if you're doing more for reapplicants, I would say I would document what was different or highlight what was different in the year that you spent in the interim or however much time was in between the last time that you reapplied, and show how that contributed to you being different and better now. So that's like the main things that I would highlight. Couples matching, I'm not sure how to do that best. It's hard.
I guess I would just say for those who've gone through the couples match, everyone always stresses out and it always works out. So, however, just like you can't really ask somebody how to do your relationship, that'll be the best thing, as you're thinking about it with the person that you might be couples matching with, you'll come up with the way that you want to think about it and going into the season. And you'll think about yourself and you'll think about your partner. But as far as communicating with programs and things like that, I would say go about it for yourself. And our program looks at you as an individual, and we don't know if people have partners outside of medicine for the reasons that they want to be in or without or in or not within the region. So we really look at the candidate. And if you don't get an interview at a place that you and your partner are really excited about, or you've been put on the wait list, I think it's appropriate, if you want, to reach out and say, my part, just to let you know, I'm still very much interested in your program. My partner did receive an invitation and was able to interview there and loved it, etc. And be okay by putting it out there, and maybe you'll get a response and maybe you won't.
That's fair. The next question is, what is something about your program that you're proud of, and what is something that you're working to improve?
I'll say for University of Washington, I personally am very proud of how the residents in our program have been real leaders in lots of different areas. And it's just been impressive to watch them, whether it's through advocacy or whether it for children in the area or whether it's through advocacy for themselves in the program. The biggest thing I think I think it's very important to work on and keep working on is the schedule to make sure that it allows them the wellness that they need.
For UC Davis, one thing I am proud of is probably the support that we get from the leadership program for well-being initiatives. And I say that now having been here, graduated from the program 10 years ago, I believe. So seeing the evolution and like, for instance, one example is this year I got promoted to APD for well-being. So that shows you that our program director really supported my passion for well-being and now gives me funded time to work on that. And one thing that I did a clinician health and well-being fellowship, and basically one of the learning points I got was people value protected time. So I took that to Dr. Lee, and basically she allowed me to convert one of our morning reports once a month to a wellness morning report. So instead of case presentation, we basically now have a resident-led activity each month that we try to do something fun. In terms of something to improve on, we did just start a coaching program, so that's been really cool. It's been fun to see it start. I think the improvement aspect is more of, I think, just getting the nitty-gritty details of finalizing how to make it work and how to make sure that people know what we're doing, as well as making sure that the residents are learning what we're want them to. So.
All right, so the next question is directed for all program directors. What would be the theme song of your residency program? Everybody has to answer.
I think ours would be We Are Family.
That is a good one.
I'm not going to do any karaoke. Don't ask the program director. You don't want karaoke from me for that song.
We have 4 more programs waiting on theme songs.
All right, for Valley Children's, Can't Stop the Feeling. Okay, Justin
That is good.
Feeling
I'm gonna
very
be bold.
I was going to say feeling very unprepared, but I always believe in hard work and hard play. So I was just sort of thinking everybody's working for the weekend.
Ooh. That is
Chris,
good.
I was thinking. Oh,
sorry, no, go ahead.
I was saying, Chris, yours should be Let's Get This Party Started.
That'd be another good one. Hip hop hooray.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna be I don't know if it's a kosher answer, but it might just be the Northern California part of me. But there's a E40 song called Go Hard or Go Home. And so I will leave that up to people's interpretation on why I chose that.
Those were all really good theme songs. We want to be respectful of the program director's time, so we will have one last question if the audience has any. Well, we don't have any more questions. Hopefully everyone got the chance to learn a bit more about our Pacific West programs. We want to repeat how grateful we are to all the program directors, coordinators, and other representatives who took the time to join us tonight. We will now request.
Welcome everyone to room 3. Again, my name is Estelle Green, and I have the honor to be your moderator this evening. I would also like to take this time to introduce our wonderful Sheena Bedi, who is one of our Assistant Director of Webinars and working really hard behind the scenes tonight. Next slide, please. We will first begin with the program overview portion of the evening. To ensure that they're all adequately represented, each representative will be given 5 minutes to talk about their wonderful programs. I will be setting a timer to keep us all on track. When you hear the timer go off, that will signify that the representative have 30 seconds remaining. Following the presentations, we'll move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar. However, attendees, if you have burning questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And then program representatives, you're more than welcome to answer them as they come in. Alrighty, the moment we have all been waiting for. Our first program of the evening is Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, CHLA. I would like to invite their representative to come off mute and then tell us about your wonderful program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Fang, and I'm one of the associate program directors for Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Dr. Thompson, who's our program director, is also on this evening. Looking at the time, I know maybe we have a little less than 5 minutes, but I just wanted to share that our hospital, we're located in Los Angeles. As it kind of says in the program highlights, we're a standalone children's hospital. We're a high volume referral center, quaternary center. Our emergency department sees over 100,000 visits per year. We're also really proud that we're a regional safety net hospital. I think we're one of the few, or if not only, top 10 children's hospitals that are also safety net hospitals. We also have a federally qualified health center and a partnership with an organization called Ultimed that runs our general pediatric clinic, which is on site at our hospital. And from that standpoint, about 75% of our patients on the inpatient side receive Medicaid or CHIP. It's called Medi-Cal in the state of California. And then about 85 to 90% of our patients in our outpatient general pediatrics clinic receive Medi-Cal benefits. We serve a large catchment area, primarily in Los Angeles. Thanks, Estelle. And then we also have an apartment building across the street from the hospital, which is affectionately called the Rodney, because on Rodney Drive, where about 60% of our residents live, and there's subsidized rent for that. For those residents that don't live in the Rodney or that apartment building, there's a housing stipend for them each year. We have a number of initiatives to support our residents as they go through residency, including a specific therapist for trainees, not only in our residents, but our fellows as well as subsidized mental health services. And then we have a Residents Appreciation Week. We have annual holiday parties and June parties where alumni come and cover the hospital. So all of our residents have a night off in order to celebrate and make space together. Last thing that's listed there is kind of this welcome tunnel that we do for interns when they first join. And we do an entire orientation to orient them to the city of Los Angeles and our hospital and our community there. Our curriculum is a block schedule. Within that block schedule, though, we do try to, kind of make space for not having like tough rotations all back to back. And so kind of spacing them out, while also maintaining kind of that flexibility of scheduling for other needs that people may happen to have. We have 3 tracks under a program called Impact, which is our community health advocacy track, our global health track, and our QI track. We also have a separate education track, and for those physician scientists that are interested in growing a career in primary research, we have the Donnell Society. The Donnell Society is a competitive track. The other ones are all non-competitive tracks, and people demonstrate their interest after match. It's not a completely separate match code. So you just all register for us individually at CHLA as a program, and then after the match is over, we reach out to you to see if you're interested. We have a community pediatrics curriculum that runs across all 3 years that's integrated into our residency curriculum, focused on health equity and advocacy. In terms of other details, Pacific West, we have 38 residents per class. It's 35 categorical residents. It's 3 child neurology residents. And then we accept J1, H1B, and F1 visas. In diversity initiatives, we have a program that was started by our residents themselves. It's called the Diversity Inclusion Mentorship Program, or DIMP. And it's these families of not only undergraduate students, but also our residents, our pediatric residents, and our pediatric faculty to create this mentoring relationship across 3 different levels to help people in their academic journey. We also have MS4s who identify as underrepresented in medicine. We have a funded elective for them to rotate through some of our rotations here as well. And then finally, I think applies to everyone kind of in this breakout room. Southern California is a really diverse environment. I think people think of just beaches, but there are many mountains nearby as well. And so, depending on the time of the year, you could potentially surf and snowboard all in one day. I've never done it, but I've heard of people doing it. So it's definitely a really great opportunity for all people who are really interested in the outdoors. Griffith Park is right by us. There's a lot of really great hiking, and there's all sorts of different types of foods, ethnic backgrounds, entertainment opportunities, sports events, all in the city of Los Angeles. So thank you for your interest, and happy to answer any other questions that come up later.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fang. And we will now have a brief pause to allow attendees to join our breakout rooms if they choose to do so. Next up is UCLA David Geffen School of Medicine. We would like to invite your representative to come off mute and tell us about your amazing program.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alan Chin, the Pediatric Residency Program Director here at UCLA. Happy to join you today. Despite being on inpatient service this week, I definitely want to make important kind of time for this. Yeah, I get it. So a couple of things for the UCLA program. We are a multi-site training program. I think this one's really important. And then one of the things, especially if you think about being a multi-site training program in Los Angeles, it's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth going to the sites. And so let me talk a little bit about, where we go and what we do. The main one here at the UCLA Medical Center is our main hospital site. It's a children's hospital within a hospital. So the Mattel Children's Hospital is the 3rd and 5th floors of our hospital here. And it gives us the opportunity to work in an integrated academic medical center, not only within the hospital, but our hospital actually sits on our main UCLA campus. So it's a huge opportunity to kind of work in interdisciplinary fields, walk across the street to go to the School of Public Health, work with the School of Nursing, dentistry, all on the same campus, all within walking distance of each other. We also work in a community hospital. It's Santa Monica UCLA, owned by UCLA. It's an opportunity to work in kind of bread and butter pediatrics in a community setting. It also allows us to kind of do some specialized care there. It's actually our orthopedic specialty hospital. And so we have an opportunity to work with our sarcoma patients, giving them integrated care, both surgical and oncologic care there. It's also a young adult treatment center. And so that's where we house our eating disorder medical stabilization program as well. We work in a dedicated children's hospital, and shout out to David Michalik, which I know he's on, I think, for UCI Chalk today as well. But Miller's is a combined location for both UCI and UCLA trainees in this freestanding children's hospital doing bread and butter pediatrics. Our residents there work in both the ER, the nursery, and the inpatient wards there. So general pediatrics in a number of different contexts. And lastly, I'll talk about All of You Medical Center. This is an LA County safety net hospital just to our north in Sylmar. Works with a very underserved primary immigrant Spanish-speaking population in Sylmar, large catchment area, an opportunity to really work in that safety net and provide wraparound services. Not only do we enter our patients into that safety net, but our residents also provide subspecialty care there as we're available, as well as we actually, if they cannot get plugged into other care, we have resident continuity clinic to provide well child services there as well. A real huge opportunity there. I love working with our residents. I always think, just skipping ahead to program culture there, I always say we're altruistic. Our program is designed to be one that supports each other and everybody that's in it, not only to the patients and families that we serve, but also with each other. We're individualized. One of the opportunities in working 4 different health systems is an opportunity to individualize your curriculum to what you want to do and how you want to do it. It gives you an opportunity to see what kind of health system you might want to work in, what patient populations you might want to work with. And we always think that this is a huge opportunity. We expand that into additional individualized tracks and elective opportunities. We have primary care and public health, global health, fellowship track, a physician scientist track, really allowing you to expand into different areas that you might be interested in. Wellness throughout this is always really important to us. We have a behavioral wellness center. It's actually it's a mental health facility that is designed solely for residents at UCLA. And so that's the only people that enter into that system. And these are mental health providers who really understand what it's like to be a trainee and how we can help them. And so they're able to kind of do on-site visits, telehealth, counseling sessions, after hour, they text, they do everything to kind of really meet the needs of our residents in real time. One of our big focuses, I already talked about the global health track, but almost 2/3 of our residents actually go on a global health experience. We have multiple partnership sites, including in India, Peru, in Mozambique, really an opportunity to kind of expand in the global health fields as well. We are an X+Y, so we're a 4+1 scheduling. If I ask my residents over the last 4 years, what was the best part of the X+Y schedule? It's every 5th week you're doing outpatient continuity clinic and outpatient subspecialty clinic and having that full weekend off. It's so good, I don't think we could ever go back. And so we're moving forward, we're going forward, and so hopefully that will continue as we go across the time. The only other thing I'll mention is that we are, our graduates, individualizing to them is really important. So about 50% of our residents go into general pediatrics, and about 50% of our residents go into subspecialty fields. That's a number of subspecialty fields across the nation, across the board, into a number of different subspecialties. And in general pediatrics, about half of them actually go into underserved areas in federally qualified health centers or county facilities. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shin. You actually still had 20 minutes. I mean, 20 seconds.
Wait a second.
Sorry.
No, I'll
Yeah,
take
so
it.
if you want to take them, please go ahead.
No, I appreciate the time. I was probably speaking quite quickly anyway, so I appreciate it.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you so much. And we'll now give another brief pause to allow fellow attendees to join our breakout room if they choose to do so. And we will now welcome University of California, Irvine Chalk. If you could please come off mute and tell us about your wonderful program. Next slide, please.
Was Harbor UCLA going to go first? Their slide was before us. It's up to you. Okay, that's fine. I was just going
It's up to you. I thought it was me and then Chalk, but we can do it either way.
Oh,
Whichever.
apologies about that.
Just your slide right before this was Harbor.
I'm sorry. Let's bring it back. Sorry about that.
Okay. Do I still get my five? No.
Okay, next up is Harbor UCLA. Thank you so much.
So hi, I'm Sylvia Yam, the program director of Harbor UCLA Medical Center and the pediatric program there. So let me just tell you about who we are. We are a county facility, and 80 to 90% of your experience will be here at Harbor UCLA. We are a safety net hospital. 95 to 98% of our patients are funded by the state Medi-Cal insurance plan. And so we have a very underserved population of Los Angeles. And then we are a small program. We only have 10 residents per class. So I think for us, family is a major component of who we are. The faculty and the residents really get to know each other and work well together. Another theme for us is advocacy because of our patient population. There's a lot of advocacy that goes in our day-to-day work, as well as we have a whole rotation in terms of advocacy and how your role as a pediatrician is to be an advocate for your patient and your population and your community, and what does that look like. And then teaching is a huge component of our program, and it is a thing that our residents will say that they recognize and see the dedication of our faculty in terms of teaching. And so because of that, those are some of our, I think, strengths of our program. We are a county hospital, like I said. We have a large catchment area in Los Angeles. The other places you will rotate to are Kaiser for your nursery rotation as a third year, that's Kaiser Downey. And then as a second year, you have a rotation with a federally qualified health center with a children's clinic that's in Long Beach. And so a wide variety of experiences, even though you're primarily based at Harbor. We are also on site is a large research institute, so the Lundquist Institute. So it's an on-site nonprofit biomedical research organization. So a lot of our residents who want to get involved with research will work with a faculty mentor and have the resources of the Lundquist Institute to be able to help them in their research activities. We have, our curriculum is such that we have block scheduling with night float. We have one call free month each year. We also have a simulation labs, so we do procedural training there. We also do our mock codes there. We also have a support an asynchronous e-learning website, and so that allows our residents to be able to learn materials whenever they want. And then we also have protected weekly block didactic schedules, so that on Friday afternoons, all the residents are protected. They get to have 3 hours where they have dedicated didactic time for that time. And then our residents also have, in terms of the benefits of our program, all our residents county provides a housing stipend as well as provide paid parental leave. Our institution provides a GME psychologist that's specific for the residents, and she's been a great resource for our residents. And so residents can contact her, schedule appointments with her at any time. And given that she recognizes the unique structure of residency, she's able to provide support and services, as well as link them up with other mental health referrals based on your insurance and your coverage. Our residents run their own wellness program with support faculty guidance and support. And so they're heavily involved in those things, and really with an emphasis on how to promote and build resiliency and to help residents as they navigate residency. Our residents also are part of our DEI committee, which is an initiative with both faculty and residents. And so we have a resident leader who leads book clubs and discussions. And those are things that happen on a every other month basis, where we get to read a topic or watch a movie or something and talk about the various different concerns or issues that come up for that. And our institution also provides some affinity groups for our residents, especially those who are underrepresented in medicine. We also we do a yearly retreat where all our house staff go for a day and a half, and the services are covered by attendings and fellows. And so that's a good time for all of us to kind of get together, bond, and connect. And that's something that happens usually October. And we in terms of our location, is obviously Los Angeles is a great place. There's a lot of culture, music, sports. Whatever you're interested, you can find it here. We are about 7 miles away from the beach. And so we have nice coastal weather. So lots of great things just here. And Torrance, the area around us is a huge food mecca. So if you're a foodie, we have all that. So there we go.
Thank you so much. Apologies again about the mishap. And we will now welcome University of California, Irvine Chalk. If you could please come off mute and then tell us about your wonderful program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Hilary Z, one of the Associate Program Directors. David Michalik, one of our other Associate Program Directors, is here as well. But we are University of California, Irvine Chalk, and just with a lot of great things to share with you today. We have a lot of support for our residents, the mental health support, wellness physician consultant. This is a psychiatrist that is scheduled to meet with every resident, particularly after ICU rotations, just because we know everyone's kind of needs that decompression session. There's the moving stipends, educational stipends, all the things that a lot of the other programs have. And just to say at the end, we are one of the unionized residencies. So we have that a lot of the residents have appreciated over the years. We have a very robust primary care track that has sent at least about a third to a half of our residents through to primary care over the last 2 to 3 years, with mentor and mentee partnerships with community pediatricians, as well as special seminars targeted just for primary care residents. And then we have a newly created leadership track that's going to foster some leadership skills amongst our residents, having direct conversations with our hospital CMOs, CFO, all those great leaders that our residents will be able to connect with. We have a great faculty-driven didactics for our morning reports and our noon conferences. Our faculty fight over how much time they can have with the residents. It's really great to see their passion. I guess I could have led with this, but we do have who we are and where we rotate. We have access to our 2 children's hospitals, so that's Chalk as well as Miller Children's, plus the UCI Medical Center. So that's 2 level 1 trauma centers that you're rotating at, 3 NICUs, 2 PICUs, and then 2 hospital ward sites. In addition, we have our continuity clinics. So we have 3 FQHCs that you might be rotating at, as well as our 4 Chalk community clinics, who also just primarily only serve Medi-Cal patients, but because they're pediatric only, they're not considered FQHCs. So really a strong push for our residents to get to know their patients and patients that are coming from lower income or diverse backgrounds. Our residents have seen it all. We are right near Disneyland, so yay for Disneyland, but that brings in a lot of different patients coming to visit us at CHOC and the emergency room and in our clinics as well. So, and then to move on to some basic stuff, our curriculum, we are doing block scheduling. We do try to break up a lot of the more inpatient rotations with electives. So sometimes you're only on for just 2 weeks at a time and then go to like a 2-week elective or outpatient rotation. We have the flexible tracks, like I talked about, the primary care track and the leadership track. And we don't try to, it's not an application process. So we try to be flexible with residents who are not sure what they want to do. We are kind of in that medium size, 25 categorical interns per class. We also have 2 peds neurospaces. And then this upcoming year, we will have a 1 peds genetic space as well, which is a 4-year program. And then the peds neuro is a 5-year program, I believe. Anyway, so there's more details about that if you need. We have a lot of diversity initiatives. Our best one is Pride, Program for Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity. And it's resident and faculty joint led, and new conferences occurred out of those conversations. And we also hold sessions with our applicants, a diversity dinner that's been virtual in the past few years, but just to kind of get any interest from our applicants as well. Again, my chief resident said I have to talk about Disneyland again. We're going there for our intern retreat. It's just like a great time to get together for everyone to have fun. A lot of the residents have passes and we'll just go for the evening and just hang out. You can see the Disneyland fireworks from the roof of the CHOC parking structure. So a lot of fun stuff there. We also have a senior retreat in the fall with each class gets like the whole 20 day off to kind of hang out. We go to the beach. We usually go to Oceanside. So that's a really great time as well. David, did you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, all the programs I think listed so far and who presented are fantastic. They're all, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Are all fantastic. I think we have a very active AAP chapter at Orange County that is incredibly, works a lot with our residents to deal with pediatric initiatives. The diversity of our program with the 3 sites really allows for a diverse experience. The proof is in the pudding with our graduates who leave our program very well prepared to deal with any type of pediatrics. They're well prepared fellows, they're well prepared generalists, and many of our graduates actually come back and work for our institutions, one of the institutions, which actually says a lot about how they feel about our program, and we're glad to have them come back. Our program director, Dr. Dora Blanca, who hails from CHLA as a hospitalist, is in her 2nd year with the program, and our pediatric chair is also in her, I think she's in her 4th year now. I think having these 2 people take on this role relatively recently has actually made our program much more equipped to work with trainees and really infused a lot of good things into the program. So we actually see that as a strength of our program. I also think that our program is pretty much resident run with the program evaluation committee, residents evaluating how good the training is and how the individual sites are. Our pass rates are fantastic for the pediatric boards, and yeah.
Thanks. Estelle, I think that we did our timer, right?
Yes, thank you so much. I was trying to find a good spot, but thank you again so much. We'll now have a brief pause to allow attendees to join our breakout room if they choose to do so. And then our final program of the evening is Loma Linda University. We would like to invite your representative to come off mute and tell us about your amazing program.
Hi, I already introduced myself earlier, but I'll let Gabby introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Gabby Pina. I'm the pediatric residency track director for the primary care track, the residency program for Loma Linda.
So we had difficulty categorizing ourselves as medium or large, but I guess compared to other people, we're technically medium to large? I don't know. So we have
large.
So we have 99 residents total. So 23 categorical residents, 1 child neuro, 4 med peds, and 4 primary care track residents per year. And then our categorical residents do all of their rotations here at Loma Linda Children's. Our primary care track residents do about half of the rotations here at Loma Linda and half over at Riverside University Health Systems. I'm gonna go off slide and just start talking maybe, and you can fill in gaps. So we do have a global health rotation as well. So our 2 sites that we had done previously were Malawi and Guam, and this year we're actually adding Puerto Rico as one of our global health opportunities. We do have a housing stipend and food stipend, and we do cater food for our residents for the conferences. I think other people mentioned parental leave. So we do also have paid parental leave. We do opt out mental health appointments and appointments with our physician vitality team. In terms of graduates, about half of our graduates end up doing fellowship and half doing outpatient or hospitalist medicine. We have a tiered coaching program, so all of our residents get big SIB residents and then chief resident coaches, as well as faculty coaches, and then separately research or career coaches. And
I think one of the things that makes our program super unique is that our categorical and primary care track are actually 2 different applications and interview processes, but we operate as one giant family. So if you have like some crazy cousins that you only see in holidays, that could be the categorical residents or the PCT, right? And so we can all operate as a family together. And we're super like cohesive. We really listen to each other. And the cool thing about the residency program on both sides, both PCT, med peds, neuro, and categorical, is that we're really receptive to feedback. We host monthly pediatric evaluation committees so that we can hear the resident feedback. They have representatives, so we listen and we have conversations that can sometimes not be pleasant, but can have great outcomes. And that's one of the things. Our diversity initiatives we're super proud of. We started a program called DIME. DIME is Diversify, Include, Mentor, and Educate. And we are actively working on promoting and creating more pathway programs with our local schools and all the way up through the residency program itself with faculty mentorship. We also have co-created with institutional DEI, patient health equity, some educational curriculum that we're incorporating into our new conferences, Super Tuesday and Grand Rounds, so that we can all be equitable, so we can learn about misgendering and microaggressions and make a better tomorrow, hopefully. We also do Proud Pediatricians Reading Out Loud About Diversity, which are recorded books that our residents and faculty read that are played in our clinic and in our hospital and our children's channel for patients to listen to and bond with us, but also get a good story time in the meantime. We have health equity rounds, which is a MedEd portal published curriculum that we incorporate into our Super Tuesdays and lecture series to make sure that we are doing equitable care for our patients and our patient population. We have an underrepresented medicine visiting student rotation. Our 2nd student right now is on their month right now with us at RUHS. And we are hoping to add a few more for next year. So let your MS4s know, or rising MS4s next year know, to come in and hang out with us, because I think we're pretty cool. And then we had 2 booths at AMAC this year, which is the annual medical evaluation education conference, which is the national conference for Student National Medical Association, where we're able to talk about how great we think our area is and our patient population and why we stay around. And it was an amazing experience to see as many minority students like wear their white coats and be proud to be in the healthcare field that they are. We've already talked about where we're located, but what's cool about Loma Linda is our blue zone. We are one of 7 in the world. If you guys don't know what a blue zone is, I hope you go home and Google the mess out of it, because it's gnarly and super interesting. I know the timer went off, Estelle. I got you. I got you. We're almost done. And there's a lot to learn from the blue zone, and it's really enriching. So we have lifestyle medicine that we incorporate into our educational series and incorporate into our clinics. because the Blue Zone teaches us how to do that.
And both of our clinics for categorical and primary care are at federally qualified healthcare centers, so very much so underserved population, and the majority of our patients are under public insurance or Medi-Cal.
Yeah, we like us. We hope you do too.
And we yes, words. I know you guys can read, so.
Thank you so much. And that concludes the program overview portion of the evening. We will now open up the floor to our live Q&A. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat. But if you prefer to remain anonymous, feel free to also send me a private message and I will share it with our audience. And if there's that awkward silence, I also have the sheet that has all of your submitted questions. So I have those ready as well, but I'll give you the floor first. All right, I read in a study, you should typically give 10 seconds and then go in. But I will go in with one of the most popular questions that we got, which was how can an applicant stand out, both from before interview standpoint and then during interviews?
I can answer this a little bit. So stand out in a positive way, I would assume. So it's probably a little bit late for this, but doing a away rotation at a place that you want to go does really help. It's like a 4-week interview. So that's kind of a thing that maybe you can pass on to priors. But if you did do one or you're on one, make sure to shine, make sure to, talk to your attending, get close with them, but also schedule a meeting with one of the PDs or associate PD, just so you can kind of have a little bit more face time with the program. If you didn't do an away and you're just doing your application, make sure you utilize all the aspects of the ERAS. They have the top 10 items that you can now submit, just showing stuff that you're passionate about, making sure it's something that you'd love to talk about. Not just something that you did just to add to your resume, and then share those. I forgot what they're called, but those important moments or the things that maybe where it's like a challenge or a hurdle. Use that in the most appropriate way possible, so that we can get to know you that way outside of just your statement. And then on your interview day, be on time, be prompt, be excited. We all have bad days and have internet connection issues or whatever it is, but just really try to be there and present and follow the directions and all those kind of things. Enjoy your interview and ask questions, but not tough questions like us interviewers don't want to get grilled either. And then follow-up messages are always nice. I'm sure there's certain rules that you have to follow, but just kind of saying a thank you to us as well as the program coordinators, it really does go a long way.
Just going to take a step back on that because I think it's absolutely true. Thank you, Hillary. I think that's absolutely right. And I think it comes to the general sense for me is just having read hundreds of applications for now almost a decade. Be genuine. Bring your authentic self to the table, whether that's in the application or in the interview, both, right? Because it's a two-way street, right? It's on us as programs to tell us who we are as a program so that you can figure out, are we the right fit of a program to you? But similarly, I want to know who you are, not who you think I want you to be, but who you are, right? And that'll help me figure out, is this going to be a good match? Is this going to be a good fit? And you want to be at a program that really appreciates who you are, right? So I think that's my take-home message.
I would echo what's been said and kind of jump off one thing Hillary said is, so for some people, when they feel like they need to list every single thing, you kind of get law of diminishing returns. And, we are reading, and at CHLA, we read every single application. And it's a small group of people rating every single application. So please be patient with us. If you haven't heard back, it's not because you're not getting an interview. It is we are reading every single application. And so, display what you're passionate about and make sure that shines. Other things I think we are looking for specifically, we are looking for people who've had leadership experience. And then, because of the type of hospital we are, a commitment to care for the underserved is really important to us. And that's something else we're looking for in our application review. Yeah, and then second, the interview date, be on time, be professional, respectful, and ask good questions that show you've read, you're prepared and you've read something about our program. And then, yeah, everything else that people have said.
Yeah, I'll be quick and piggyback. Hi, Kevin. It's good to see you again. But I want to piggyback on Alan, like 100% be genuine, be you, be true to you. And I'll give you a story because I feel like we probably look like we've got our ish together, but at some point we didn't. And so when I was going through the interview cycle, I'm a DO and I was interviewing in California and felt very insecure about my security interviewing through the residency programs. And again, I'm aging myself, so this is about a decade ago. And so I fully embraced myself to a level in which I probably shouldn't have. I'm very aware of what I do well and what I don't do well. And so I wore a bright pink dress. I was definitely both not only figuratively the loudest person in the room, but also the loudest person in the room. And I felt really confident in what I was presenting. And so I think that flavored a lot of what I thought the interview trail was supposed to be. I went in thinking I'm not going to look like I'm going to a funeral, I'm not going to wear that black suit. But over time, going through multiple interviews, I started to tone down, not who I was, but just being more secure in who I was and not needing to flaunt it. And that will come with time. So know that this is a period in which your insecurities will be triggered. Your sense of self will be doubted, and that's perfectly normal. But know that you will end up exactly where you're supposed to be. And I ended up exactly where I was supposed to be, despite the Legally Blonde pink dress that I wore for years in residency. And now the olive green suit that I wear on the interview trail.
And I would also second with the applications, because I think we all read through all of the applications. We care more about the thing that you dedicated your 4 years of life to, because that was something you were passionate about, than the one soup kitchen that you spent 2 hours on one time in your life.
Thank you so much. Those were some very insightful answers. And you know what? Actually, the bright pink might be coming back with the whole Barbie movement. So we'll see. And so another question that I got that was very popular was, what are your thoughts on geographic preferences, especially for students from out of the region? And we also got a few questions regarding signaling as well.
Is that in regards to on their application?
Yeah, so if they were to be a non-California applicant and they were to put Pacific West as their geographical preference, what would be your thoughts regarding that?
So I can speak to that. I would say if you truly are interested in the Pacific West, then you should show state and utilize that for your processes. Like many have said, we get a whole lot of applications. And so we're trying to figure out, are you just applying to us because we're your backup, or are you really, really interested in us or not? And so if that is something that you are interested in, I think you can list up to 3 geographic preferences. And so that is helpful. And in terms of helping us to understand, if you've grown up in the Midwest, and you've done undergrad and medical school in the Midwest, then if you're wanting to come to the Pacific region, a little statement as to why is a little helpful to us, I think, in general, when we're trying to sift through all those applications. And kind of mix on the program signaling, I think I'm not sure how much that does or does not help, because I think there's a lot that I think you get 5 programs. And, I think part of the journey right now is to figure out what's a good fit for you. And so what you think might be a good program ultimately may or may not be as you go through the trail. So I'm a little mixed on what I think about program signaling, but I do think the geographic signaling, especially if you're not from coming from the area, is helpful.
I want to comment on this one as a Midwesterner who did medical training in New York and never set foot in California until my interviews for residency, because I got so many questions about like, why are you here? And I had zero ties, like family or friends in this area. And I was just like looking for the best training program that I could be at and had no like cares whatsoever about the rest of it. And like, no one believed me. So if you're not from this area, I want to say like that's okay. It is not like a bad thing to not have been in this area, but like you want a really, really good reason for why you are applying to that program. And so I think someone had mentioned before about like, you know, to have your research done for that program. Like if you're applying for a program and you have absolutely no reason to be at California, like don't show up like knowing nothing about it. But if you have a good reason and you haven't been in California, I promise it's okay. Like we do end up here and then we don't leave.
You'll be here forever.
You'll be here forever.
Forever.
My 2 cents on this question is by far the main decision that goes into selecting a program should be the actual hospital and its structure and the people that work there, by far. If you look at time spent in your very busy lives as a resident, the majority of that time is going to be related to the actual hospitals and clinics that you're going to be at. So you really need to make sure that what you are picking and where you are going is that the style and the character of that program match what you are looking for. The next biggest factor shouldn't be geography. It should be, do you have a good bed? Get a good mattress, get a good pillow and blankets, because you're going to be spending some time sleeping. So the smallest consideration really in deciding where you want to go should be geography. As much as we like to use Disneyland as a selling point for our program, if that's the only thing that you are really in tune with is going to a program because it's close to Disneyland, you may find that our program is not the best fit for you. That being said, if you do know that you would like to practice medicine in the future in a certain area, that could be a reason why you might select a geographic area. Obviously, family and spouses and such might bring you to a certain geographic area. But by and large, I think geography should be the smallest consideration in terms of like where you would like to practice overall. I did my residency in the Midwest. I did my fellowship on the East Coast, and I came back to California where I'm from, and that's perfectly fine. There's also something to be said for going to a program that is not part of where you trained as a medical student. I think there's something to be said for learning about how a hospital does things differently than maybe what you're used to doing. Same can be said for fellowships as well, but that's my 2 cents.
And yeah, I think we get this question a lot too about like, I'm not from there. Like, are you going to consider me? Like, 4 out of the 5 program directors we have are not from Los Angeles. And we are here. And so, and at least our intern class currently, I think there's only a handful that are actually from Los Angeles. And so for us as a program, if you are applying to us, you are interested, and we are taking you at that face value. So also for signaling, for us, it's so new that I don't think we can like rest on that specifically. And so if you signal us, we appreciate it. It's not the make or break thing. If you don't signal us, it doesn't mean we're not going to review it. And if you signal us, doesn't mean you're on like an interview, right? So there's so many other factors. And then I think added to David's point, another piece of advice I give to MS4s is that ACGME really standardized a lot of the curriculum across all of our programs. And so your residency experience from a curriculum standpoint is really going to be very similar. And so, there's also a lot of wellness programs and a lot of residency programs to support trainees. But there are certain like aspects of wellness that are unique to every single person. And so for some people, Disneyland is like the part of your wellness, and that's really important. And if that's what carries you through on the tough days during residency, I think, know, Chalk is like UCI Chalk is like a really great program. For some people, it is their partner and where their partner's living. For some people, it's being able to snowboard or ski or like a specific type of food or family or research. Like that is such an individualized experience that I think, needs to be factored in for each individual person to find the right program for them as well.
So I'm going to circle back to what Dr. Chin put in the thing. There's also no preference. And so that's also a good way if you truly are like, I'm looking specifically for X, Y, and Z. And so that's what I'm looking for. And that's not limited in geography. That is helpful information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are approaching the hour and we want to be mindful of everyone's time. So we will take one more question. And this one was also very popular and I'm getting it in the chat as well. What are your thoughts on including hobbies into the ERAS?
Standard section, but put your true hobbies. I always share with our students here and our advisees. There was a year that I had reviewed an applicant who had put their hobbies in a haiku, and I was like, just tell me what you're interested in. I want to talk to you about anime for me, or video games, or I just want to talk to you about what you're interested in. So again, genuine. Put in what your hobby actually is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think be intentional about the hobbies. So don't list like 20 things because we know that's not true. But be honest about it because that is something that will allow a bit of your personality to come through. And sometimes it's hard. We interview quite a few applicants and you may be a big fish in your small pond, but in our field, you might just be just like the next person we interviewed. And so what makes you different? What makes you unique outside of the personal statement in your resume, but who makes you as a person, right? And we just don't want to cultivate physicians because we're going to cultivate and grow you no matter where you go at any of these wonderful institutions. But we want to learn you and your uniqueness and what kind of flavor you bring to our institution. And so own that, like spicy beef roll that you are, or chicken. I don't know what kind of flavor ramen. I really want ramen right now. I don't know if you notice. But whatever flavor you want to bring that essence to the table and own it.
And I just to echo all of that, sometimes we use a lot of these things of your ERAS application, including your hobbies, to match you with who you're going to interview with. So again, like put something there like that you want. If you like love dancing, we're going to match you with Dr. Candace Taylor Lucas because she will dance off with you. And like, that's just what's going to happen. So do something, talk about what you're interested in, because then we can make the interview experience even more like robust when you're with us. And then you can kind of get a feel for things that you're interested. I can't guarantee anything, but that's why we do it. So it's not just about like the end, like, are you going to match and where you're going to get ranked? It starts just with like who you're going to interview with and how's that going to happen. So your application has to be relatable for all of those parts of the process.
Beyond that, we use it to like identify people when you match here, like who are going to be good fits to be potential like mentors or coaches or and develop relationships when you get here. So like it goes even beyond that. So yes, please be your authentic self. I enjoy a good hobby section.
Also, you never know if you ask for ramen, you might get it. So you never know. She came in clutch. That's why I work for her.
We're fun on the West Coast, by the way. I don't know if any East Coast schools are doing this kind of funness.
Well, if you guys want to attend the East Coast webinar, it's coming up, and then you can make up your mind then. Just a little plug right there. But again, thank you all so much. Hopefully everyone got the chance to learn about all the wonderful things that our Pacific West programs have to offer, and you also got some great pearls at the end during the Q&A. We'd like to take this time to once again express how grateful we are to all the program representatives who took the time out of their evenings to join us tonight. And we will now request our program representative